Okay.
Good morning. My name is Afternoon. My name is Jonathan Serrano, and this is the Doer and the Thinker podcast. And
And I'm Xander Gray, the other host of the Doer and the Thinker.
we are professionals. This is a great podcast, you guys.
I would think that after a few, you didn't think about the introduction, did you?
I did that on purpose, dude. Why you gotta bring me out like that?
Come on, man.
It's called comedy, man.
Oh boy, we've never done
Jesus.
comedy in our lives.
I haven't. No, I have not.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm a funny guy, though.
I mean, we both like to think we're funny guys, but
Like, you think I'm funny?
anyway, so today, I want to talk about empathy. What? God, dude, be empathetic. So, okay, empathy. So, my question is, to start it out real quick, do you think it's innate, or is it taught, or do you have to live your life to be empathetic, or could you just be empathetic? What do you think? I have my thoughts on it, but
I'm gonna say something real stupid real quick.
go.
I'm only saying this because there may be some people that are listening. What is empathy? I really don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm going to pretend like it's for the fans.
I
but it's
want to
not.
say empathy. Okay, I haven't looked it up, but I think empathy is the gist of it is probably putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and kind of understand where they kind of coming from. Like, for example, let's say you're talking to a person and that person for some reason is yelling at you or angry at something. Customer service, this is the best explanation for it. You know, I don't know about you, but I've worked in customer service for a long time. So when they're angry, for you to be empathetic, you're not pissed at them. It's more like you're like, okay, he or she's not angry at me. It's probably something else. It's probably their life or whatever. If you know that person personally, then you're like, oh, his dad, blah, 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 or like his mom is da-da-da. So I think that is the best explanation that I can say for empathy. It's just putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and kind of doing your best to kind of understand where they're coming from. Oh, is that complete stupid?
No, I feel like that sounds about right. I feel, and this is my own personal experience, and that's kind of all I can speak on, and from behavior that I've seen in people. I feel like it's a practiced. I feel like it needs to be practiced, right? Some people I feel are naturally empathetic, I guess, where they can naturally remove themselves from certain situations where, especially high pressure situations, and they can remove themselves and think about what they're trying to get across, and then think about how the other person is feeling, and then communicate a little better, right? Some people naturally do that. But for me, that was a big struggle. It was a huge struggle.
So for you, it's like it's learned, right?
Absolutely.
So it's for me, I'm trying to think because, and we've talked about this, because of my upbringing, because of, even though my papa wasn't there for me, but even though my faja wasn't there for me, I was lucky
I
enough.
fucking love doing this, dude. I fucking love doing this with you. You're a funny guy.
Lucky enough to have me mama and my grandparents to kind of teach me, or at least raise me to not judge a person by their color or whatever, but judge them by their character. So with that, innately, I think with that kind of upbringing and like just watching movies or whatever, like I kind of like just kind of went through empathy that way.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to find people that even though, let's say it's hard to explain because maybe their upbringing is shit, but they can either be good or evil, right? If their upbringing is terrible, because they can grow up becoming like worse or become the person that they hate when they're growing up because they were raised a certain way, abusive or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to be that person. They become empathetic so they can relate better to people that have the somewhat same upbringing. So it's kind of like I'm just trying to understand, because for us it's learned.
Yeah.
For me it's learned in a sense. So I'm just trying to understand: are there people out there that they just it's already kind of in them, ingrained in them already? Like it's hard. Like I feel like it's nurture. I don't think it's nature.
I mean, I guess it kind of, for me, I would think that it's kind of split up into different levels, right? Now that you're speaking about it that way, there's like this natural, kind of like this video that was going around a while ago, like these two little kids, and they just happen to be black and white, right? Like the two little kids running towards each other, and they just hug each other. They're just happy to see each other, right? I feel like there's like a baseline amount of caring, even though that's still learned behavior, right? But at that young, you kind of just roll off the cuff as far as your emotions go.
Right,
and there's this
right.
like baseline amount that you would care for somebody.
But is that empathy though? I think that's just innocence, right? Because
But
I want to. Sorry to interrupt. I want to jump on that because I was working, and you, because I drive around whatever, I've noticed like kids, and that's different types of like kids waving, right? And they're, again, I don't want to put race on it, but let's just for the sake of this example, I'm driving the car or whatever, and then the kids are like white kids, right? And then some of them would wave and genuinely smile like hi, like, you know, and then some of them just kind of like they're either timid or whatever, they're kind of, but that's normal. So for that, it just depends on the upbringing, right? But I don't think that's empathy. I think that's just the innocence, like. And I'm glad that you brought it up.
They're still portraying a certain emotion. They aren't able to identify or understand what they're doing. But as a kid, as a child that young, you're able to completely erase any amount of
judgment.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and then you're able to just relate to that person, right? So like you're just relating to that person because you like this person. And then kids are the opposite too. Like if they don't like something, they're going to tell you immediately, right? They're going to cry, or they're going to be like, oh, I don't like that. Why did you do that? Right. So it's like these barriers that we kind of build as we get older, where now as an adult, it's like, how hard would it be for you? Well, maybe not for me or you, but how hard would it be for like normal people that are like nice, you know, in social situations, that if somebody like did something wrong, how much do you think that they would want to approach that person and be like, hey, I'm calling you out on an inappropriate behavior?
I think it depends on how well you know the person. Like if it's a stranger in like a social setting, you kind of like, okay, well, I know to stay clear of that person.
Right.
But if you're empathetic, you're like, in your head, you're like, why did that person do that? Or why did that person say that? And then if you know them or you want to get to know them, you dive deep, and maybe 8, 9, 10 times out of 10, they're like, oh, you're actually a nice person, but you just, no, I don't want to say something's wrong. You just haven't had the chance to kind of dive deep into that situation, that error, like the attitude that you have.
Yeah, or maybe
you know?
nobody's ever called them out.
Right.
You know, whether it's responsible or irresponsible. I'm gonna do it. Fuck it. I relate it like to dogs, right? When dogs are puppies, they're in a litter, and if they bite each other too hard, they like have this harsh reaction, right? Whether it's crying, whether it's like fighting back, right? So that other puppy that bit that dog, they realize, oh, they don't like this. I'm not gonna do that as much anymore, right? If they repeat the behavior, they get corrected by the siblings or by the parent, right? As adults, there are so many adults that don't get corrected at all, right? And it's because we're not able to really separate ourselves from the anger, the insult that we're receiving when we're having inappropriate behavior, and really just have a conversation where you're empathetic and you're caring, right? And you're kind of just saying, hey, listen, that was just inappropriate. You know, I love you, and I want you to be a better person, and I just want you to understand that made me uncomfortable. Right. You know, and that's so hard because it's awkward, right? Unless you're completely able to separate yourself from that initial emotion and anger, it's so awkward to approach somebody, especially even if it's your best friend.
Yeah, because you have to kind of look into that background a little bit. Because I agree. Because if you're a kid and you've never, like, you do something wrong and it's like nothing is said. Okay, that means that's okay. You do another thing that's wrong, but nothing is said. Or somebody else said, and you're directly. I say when you're a kid, your parents are your gods, right? So your gods are not really there to punish you or correct you. So
Right.
now that's another thing, like, okay, I didn't do anything wrong. So imagine years and years of that. It's okay, I didn't do anything wrong. So now when they get called out, they're like, excuse me?
I didn't do it.
didn't do
Yeah,
anything wrong.
Exactly.
So it's like, that's when the only thing I feel like you can do is call them out on it responsibly. And then if that doesn't work, then you have to decide, like, okay, you know for a fact this person might need professional help or probably need professional help, right? Because that's the best thing, because you're not equipped in a sense to, I don't want to say fix, but you're not equipped to kind of take them to that path. So once they go through the professional help, I mean, I feel like everybody should have professional help, and it's just a matter of if they're willing to do that. And that's so many, like, a lot of, like, barriers and walls that you have to break through to get to that initial moment in your life where you were a kid. Oh, I did this and nobody corrected me.
Yeah.
That was the point. That was the point in time.
Yeah.
And then you have to work your way up after that.
So
That's insane to me.
I have two responses to that. One is, I completely agree. I feel like everybody should speak with professionals, whether you think that you're happy or not happy, or it doesn't matter. Even if you're happy, you go, and it's just, at least for me, it's therapy. Like, that's what it is, right? But at the same time, I don't agree fully that you need a professional in order to communicate your feelings, right? So I feel like you don't need a professional. You may need a professional if you're speaking to somebody that isn't used to or able to take that message, but you don't. My thing is always intent, right? So if you're speaking with love, if you're speaking with intent of love, and to further the relationship, to improve the relationship, then I feel like you can't go wrong if that's what you're truly doing, right?
Right.
But on the flip side of that, my other point is that on the flip side of that, there's a person that maybe isn't able to take the message, but then on the flip side of that, there's me, where I may not be able to relay what I am meaning to say responsibly, right? Like, actually, a good example was this morning, right? And I haven't talked to Chloe about it yet, but I kind of feel bad. On my drive home, I was like, oh man, I was worried about it, right? Like, you guys just had your garage done, and I came in this morning, I was like, oh, I can't really tell the difference, and I can see how if communicated that way, how Chloe could receive that as, oh, it just looks the same, just looks bad. But that wasn't my intent at all, My intent was to communicate, oh, I'm such an idiot that I can't even remember what it looked like before. It just looks nice, So there's like this communication where if you're not able to get the message across and understand what your root feelings are, then it's going to get jumbled up, right?
Yeah, I think it has to base on how well you know the person. So either way, it wasn't, I don't think it was taken in a bad way. Obviously, you could have said, like, it looks nice, and then, but I don't remember what it looks like before. Do you have pictures?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of ways for you to do it, but you went about it that way. But that doesn't mean that your intent was to, like, I don't see a difference. Like, I don't think she got that.
Right.
So also, too, don't ever disrespect my wife like that ever again. But yeah, no, I don't think so. And even if it was that way, I'm sure you're empathetic enough to kind of notice it, and then like, hey, that's not what I meant, but you know it wasn't. That wasn't the case.
Yeah, and I feel like if I were to say, hey, Chloe, which I am going to, like, I hope you didn't take it that way because I'm just an idiot and not able to, she'd be like, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. But
yeah.
But the thing is I feel like that's because she understands how I feel about her, and I feel like I understand how she feels about me, we both value each other.
So then it's like, it comes down to, we've had people that say stuff like that, and then their initial reaction to like, well, I'm allowed to my opinion. But it's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Of course, everybody's allowed to their opinion 100%, but it's like, certain things, they don't need to be said if you're not willing to understand that it might hurt somebody's feelings. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's always that fine line. And again, it just comes back to empathy. It's like we can say a lot of things to a lot of people. We don't, because we have to look at where they're at in their life. We have to look at how much we care about them. We have to look at what are we willing to fight for. And then if we're not, why even say the things that we need to say?
Well, I'm going to use my papa as an example. As a kid, and I wasn't a kid, it was like as a young adult, Uh-huh. A big motivation with me was spite, right? And this was before I kind of evolved into somebody that was a little nicer, Before I was driven by anger, before I was driven by spite, before I was driven by emotions. Mm-hmm. And it was out of spite. Like, I wanted to be successful because, how about kiss my ass, So I did things as a young adult to try and impress my dad. And his response was always just shit on me, mm-hmm. right? So if I got A's in high school, oh, look, I got it. Or if I got, like, I was a shitty student, so if I got a B, let's say, oh, look, I came home with B's instead of C's. Oh, well, you better continue doing that, or else you're going to be in the doghouse, or I'm going to make you sleep outside. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, look, okay. I got my first job, and I know that you promised me that you would help me purchase a car, well, yeah, you got a job, but how are you going to pay for your own insurance? Okay. Yeah. And hey, I got a really good job at a hospital. I'm 18 years old. I got a really good job. I'm making good money. All right. Well, now you can start paying more rent.
Okay.
Exactly. So in that situation, it's similar, right? So, and I have so much empathy for my dad now, versus in that situation, or even, let's say, like 3 years ago, right? Because I understand where he's coming from. He learned a certain way. He grew up a certain way, right? And that kind of goes back to the barriers that you set, right? As you get older, situations and experiences are going to set barriers up. It's just going to happen, right? And I feel like in his barrier for him was, number one, he didn't know how to communicate love. And number two, I feel like, and I have this issue too, and I feel like that's why I relate to him, is I feel like it's embarrassing for him to communicate any kind of emotion other than busting your balls or anger.
Because
right?
That's probably all he knew.
Exactly.
Growing up.
Exactly. And maybe he wasn't able to identify it. And I think that, he said certain words, he said certain things, and he reacted certain ways. And obviously, I'm a little more perceptive than other kids that age, just because I take the time to be that perceptive, and I was understanding, hey, this is inappropriate behavior out of him as a father, and this is not the type of person that I want to be, and I feel like that's learned from him. He wasn't able to really, and he wasn't able to kind of enjoy or be proud of me because he learned that I better push you harder because you need to be better, right? You always need to be better.
So where did the balance come from? Meaning, you got that from him.
Yeah.
At what point where you became empathetic to how he was? Like, was this recent? Was this like, there's got to be like a little notch in that in your lifespan where it's like, oh, I understand why he was like that.
So,
But before it was out of anger and a spite because and I know this 100%, anger, spite gives you power. Gives you a lot of power. At least for me.
yeah.
It gives me a lot of power, and you feel strong and you're driven in that sense. But at that moment, doing the right thing is always the right thing. But because there's so much power in the anger, there's so much power in spitefulness, there's so much power in being correct or right, that it's hard to do the right thing, because then you have to break that cycle.
Yeah.
You have to like admit that you are flawed. Admit that, oh, what I'm doing is wrong, and I need to correct this not only for myself but the people around me. So at what point the anger, the spitefulness, whatever, at what point in your lifespan where there's a notch where you're like, oh, I get it. This is not the right way.
So there's like 2 points of evolution there. That first point was when my mom passed. So before that, I almost related to you more before that than I do now, because I was more of a doer then. I was like hot energy. Just if you say something stupid, I'm gonna call you out for it. If you do something, I'm gonna call you out for it, just because it's the right thing to do.
That's
right?
the strength. The I think that's where the not the blindness, but the for some reason I can't find the word, but like that was the strength that you call them out and you're like, I don't care if you hate me or not.
Yep.
But because I know this is the right thing, I'm gonna call you out on it, and I want to make damn sure you hear me.
Right.
That's where the strength comes out, right?
Yeah, so
like,
it was all just energy,
Yeah.
right? That was it. And then after my mom passed, I gained such a value for people, for relationships, that I couldn't even think of that before. Like I couldn't even identify, or, I couldn't come to this conclusion that there is more than just being right, than making money, because that was a big thing for me too, because I wanted to be successful, right? The whole picture of success was completely different,
Then.
Yeah, definitely. I broke up with my now wife because I felt like she didn't have the drive to be successful, like, oh, I feel like you're not, you don't have a drive to make money. And I need a partner that's going to make money because I need to be successful, And it was just different. And now I value people so much more. I value relationships so much more, because I've realized, wow, like throughout my whole life, I've always missed out. So, with my early grandparents, I really wish that I would have taken the time to be in that kitchen with my grandma on family dinner Sundays, to really help out and understand what she was doing and spend time and learn from her, that was my great grandma. With my grandparents, I really wish that I sat down and was able to hear their stories out, With my mom, I wish obviously that I had more time. But now it's like, I'm not missing out on that. I'm not going to miss out on those relationships on that time because I'm too proud or too angry or too reactive, right? So that's why it's easier for me now to really separate myself from anger. My wife sometimes gets angry for me, even though she has nothing to do with the situation, because she's like, well, you're not reacting. A good example is, we used to kind of have like these dinner things, right? Mm-hmm. And we would have a bunch of people over or whatever. And for me, it's not important for me. I'm not like one of those, oh, everybody brings something or everybody bring money, right? I'm just like, hey, come over, we're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna make dinner, right? And she would get kind of upset because people wouldn't pitch in, or like they wouldn't. She felt like they didn't value putting in their part of the effort. But for me, I just want people there. I want that quality time, and that's payment enough for me. And it wasn't until after that that I was able to kind of identify that and really value that truly, you know, where I'm like, man, I'm in a good place in my life. I am able to provide certain things. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to enjoy the quality time versus expecting payment. Whether it's expecting payment in emotion, in thank you, in gratitude, or in physical payment, or in labor, right? Like them helping me. That's meaningless for me. The meaning is now, just like a couple of weeks ago when you were at my house, right? Like you and I were kind of cooking, right? And the girls were just hanging out, but I was just like, this is my ideal life. You know, us spending good quality time together, just enjoying each other. We're just laughing, having a great time. And that is my ideal, you know? So that took me a good amount of obviously it was a great sacrifice for me to learn that lesson. But then also a couple years ago, and this is going back to my dad, a couple years ago, I haven't spoken to my dad for a while. And for me, it's just because there's just no value in that relationship for me, right? And I feel like he doesn't value it either, which is fine. So there's no ill will, there's nothing there for me, period. And a couple years ago, I just like was thinking how I do, right? And I was like, oh shit, I'm 28, and I think we were like, he got together with my mom when he was like 24 or 25, and he stepped into a 5-year-old, you know? I'm 28 right now. Not right now, but back then.
Yeah.
I'm 28 right now. If somebody just gave me a 5-year-old, what would I do? You know? And that's when like that empathy really like, holy shit. Like he wasn't able to like, he didn't know what to do. Like, and that's so understandable, right? So like when he was angry and he was just like, you know, lashing out.
He didn't know how to.
He didn't know because he just had no idea.
Also, not being ready to be a father or whatever, not wasn't there every step of the way. You were already 5,
right?
So it's like, oh, like I guess I need to be a father instead of being there when you were born, cleaning up after you, taking care of you, putting you to sleep. Like those are again, I'm not a father, I don't know, but I think those are necessary steps to kind of understand like you have this connection. So I think, and again, I'm not speaking for him or whatever, it is just assumptions. I think it was like he had to make an instant connection and he didn't know how.
Right.
So the only way for him to do it is to go back to how he was brought up. This is the only thing that I know. Right. So I'm going to use this for this, even though you were fired like, why are you kind of like this? And you didn't know how to kind of tell him. Yeah. And again, most of the time, and I have, you know, when you say something, it's like, oh, you're too young to understand, which is kind of bullshit because I think when you're young enough, I feel like sometimes you just feel the way you do. Sometimes you're not able to say it.
Right.
But when you do, I think adults don't take into account that sometimes whatever their kid or whatever the child is feeling, whatever the child is feeling, it's real. It's not like, so I think a lot of parents try to just like, oh, you're fine. Yeah. Instead of like, oh, why are you feeling this way? Like, what happened? Like, again, I'm not a parent, so I don't know. And again, like I'm not deathly afraid, but I'm so flawed right now that I'm not confident enough to have a kid. Like, you know what I mean? So I can only imagine how I would raise my own kid. Like, right. You know, so because you want to be the perfect parent, but we, to a fault, us humans, at least we take the responsibility of their flaws onto us, our parents. Right. So whatever they fuck up on, whatever they unlearn, all that, we carry that. So, and it's our responsibility, our job to dive into that and just kind of see, okay, I'm fucked up. Why am I fucked up? I'm fucked up because my papa was a terrible person. Yeah. Or whatever.
So fucking kills me every time.
So you that's your responsibility, is to really dive deep, be uncomfortable, and I don't want to say fix yourself, but to just learn about yourself a little bit more, you know.
Right.
So when you put that flaws and every fucked up shit to your kid, at least you know you're doing the best you can, hopefully, because you never know, right? You
Right.
know, so hopefully you give them the right tools to figure out your shit when they're adults.
Well, I think that, yeah, I don't think necessarily that anybody has those tools to just kind of figure it out on your own. And
Of
I
course
think that's
not.
why
Yeah,
like
yeah.
therapy is so
Right,
important,
right.
you know, because I mean, I've never spoken to anybody about that, but I think that it's super important, you know, because it's so, sometimes I feel like so resistant to it because I feel like it's cliche, you know, like, oh, well, why are your problems due to your parenting, you know, or your childhood? Let's
Yeah.
go back to your childhood. But it's so fucking true though.
Yeah.
It is so true. you know?
That's why, and I don't remember when we talked about this. That's why I wish that we're able to go in our head and pinpoint every moment in our lives that is good, bad, whatever, and just really see it clearly in our head and just like, oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why I
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So
Kind of like the episode of Black Mirror.
right, the way you can kind of control since whenever that's implanted in your head,
Yeah.
but that's why a good therapist, like a really really good therapist, is able to dive deep. But also you have to be willing to let go. You have to be willing to say, yeah, I'm fucked, or like, yeah,
Yeah.
like if you're not willing to be brutally honest with yourself and with the therapist, then the work would take a little bit longer. You have to. And it sucks, dude. It's uncomfortable. Like again,
Well,
I need to go see one. I haven't seen one yet, but I can only imagine how hard and how like to really look at yourself and say like, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's just it's hard.
I mean, the honest truth is, even if you have a professional, they can only take what information you give them.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're going to be the way that, depending on the way that you speak to them, and anybody can do this, right? Like, depending on the way you speak to someone, they can tell if you're full of shit, right? Like, can tell if you're full of shit, and then if you think that you're full of shit, right? So, but a professional can take it a step further. Well, this person thinks they're full of shit, and they're completely oblivious to that. They don't know. So how can I help them understand that not only are you full of shit, but hey, let's do
You
this
believe
first
in
step.
the full of shit that you're saying.
Let's take that first step and identify it
Oh
first.
my
You
God,
know,
that's crazy.
because
man.
I think that is the hardest part of any type of growth, is that you have to identify the issues first. And in order to identify the issues, you have to hold a mirror up to your face and look yourself straight in the eyes. And people just get so uncomfortable with that, you know?
Yeah.
To be able
Yes.
to identify that bad behavior and then just call it out in yourself.
Yeah, that's hard for a lot of people. I don't know. For me, like maybe I say like I fuck up way too many times instead of what I could do to kind of like fix it, you know, and like, but I'm completely okay. It sucks. It fucking sucks, but I'm completely okay hearing it from other people and also saying it to myself. And my problem is if it keeps happening, you're like, okay, go back to the drawing board and like do the work.
I think that's okay though.
I know. Because I know that you can't be perfect, but working towards progress and working towards perfection is okay. But it's just sometimes it's tiring, you know. Like for me, like I want to be in a place where you're truly happy and fulfilled, and like for some reason the clock in my head keeps ticking louder and louder and louder, and I should let it go and I should like move on from it, you know. And but it's like it keeps on ticking. Like, what do I need to work on? And so the stress keeps creeping in. And lately my cup that we talked about, my cup hasn't been filled. So now it's like almost empty. Now I'm running on fumes, and I'm just like, okay, I need to figure this out before I have my next blow up or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like it's coming. So
Well, let me ask you this question though. Like, is your cup not being filled because you're not doing things, you're not receiving or doing, or things aren't happening in order to fill that cup, or because you're so caught up in other things that you're not able to kind of not appreciate it, but like, you know, really like embrace the things that are supposed to be filling your cup?
right. So I think it's not that I just haven't found the time to fill the cup. Like because of doing other things and responsibilities, it's taking me away from filling that cup. And those responsibilities are important, but so is filling the cup. So I have to find the balance but right now it's like, it's very difficult for me. So I'm doing my best to kind of fill that cup gradually. So whenever I feel like the work or whatever is stressing me out, I'm like, okay, at least my cup is half full.
Yeah.
I'm okay. So I haven't been able to, you know, the garage is being worked on, haven't been able to really work out.
Yeah.
Been so busy with work, whatever, I haven't really been able to write music. You know, and the podcast is only once a week or however when we do it, and that's not enough. Like, you know what I mean? So surface level shit for me is reading comics. Surface level shit for me is going to a comic book store and buying little things. But that, I know that's surface level. I know that that's just a little bit of filling the cup.
Well, why do you think that has to be surface level though?
Because it's just materials.
But it's not, because like when we went to the comic store, we didn't buy that much, right? But we had a good time because we were together.
Right,
You know?
right. But how often do we do that?
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we do spend time together a lot.
Yeah, and I love it. I love it. But I need, my number one thing that I've realized is music.
Yeah.
Like, if I can be able to make music and videos towards music, whatever, that's where I feel the most myself, you know, the most that cup will exponentially be filled.
Yeah. When you say that, why are you laughing?
Go ahead.
When you say that, it makes me emotional, dude.
Why?
You know what? I don't. Maybe it's empathy, because the things that you're saying and the things that you say that you're feeling right now are how I felt before, you know? And, dude, I'm getting emotional as fuck.
Do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, seriously, no. That's how I felt before, right? And you and Chloe and being here and the experiences that we've had and the friends here have really, like, ripped me out of that, you know? And for you to say that you're struggling with that like, it hurts my heart. You know, it hurts my heart. And obviously, like, I want to work with you to get out of that, but it's hard because, like, what can I really do? You know? It's
right. And that's the shitty thing is, and I talked to my wife about it recently, and it's like, right now I feel like I'm not in a good place.
Yeah.
Nothing like crazy. I'm just very unhappy right now.
Right.
Because my cup is not getting filled, and the only way for me to fill it, unfortunately, I have to do it on my own.
So
in a sense, like with the music and stuff, because I need to be in my little cave and then work on music with no distraction. That's when I feel the most happy, the most myself. So then I have enough bandwidth to be Xander with you guys.
Yeah.
When I'm not able to do that, you only getting partial of me, and that's not fair for you guys. That because my mind is elsewhere. Like today, we had the bike ride. I was stressing about work. I wasn't. I mean, you saw I was falling behind. Like I wasn't in it.
Yeah.
I wasn't present. You know, and that bothered me because, like, okay, just be present. And I wasn't, because I was just stressed about other things.
So then let me ask you this question. How to ask this correctly. My question is about you holding in stress, and as far as work goes, why don't you just, like, why are you holding on to it?
Well, yeah,
because you don't work today at all.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I think it's I was supposed to get paid today,
Yeah.
but I wasn't getting the right amount, and then I was stressing about that money.
I see.
You know what I mean? Like that's now I have to call, and then like, hey, so I didn't get paid for this days, blah blah blah. Like, what's going on? Well, what day? Like, then I get questioned. Then I have to be. It's like, get your shit together, get your shit right, so I can just not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and especially now with the times or whatever, it's like you get every cent that you're supposed to be getting. So it's like, it's, to me, I'm not in a place where I'm like, whatever. Like, I'm like, no, where's my fucking money? Like, So I was like, okay, I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it later. But it was so brief. Like, I mean, it was so recent that I wasn't able to like like it was like right then and there. And then,
so you think that if everything would have gone okay with your paycheck, would you have not even like stressed about work today?
Yeah, I would have been like, okay, cool. Like, okay, I got the amount, double check. All right, cool. I'm cool. I know it's silly. I know, like, that's that level of, you're gonna, like, to me, I had to tell myself, like, you're gonna get it sorted out. You're gonna figure it out. But the extra work that I have to put onto it, I hate that shit, because that comes down to my time. So it's like, why do I have to make sure it's correct when that's your fucking job? Like, you know what I mean? And I get it. You're supposed to be responsible for that, and you should be. And it's like, God damn it, another thing I have to, like, you know what I mean?
You know what's weird though is that, like, I got paid today too, and I didn't get paid correctly. But for me, I'm just
fuck you, man.
What?
You're like, man.
Yeah, exactly. And once Dunya finds out, she's gonna be pissed, dude.
But you need that balance, I feel like.
Well, no, because I'm gonna listen. That's my money, dude. That's my comic books. That's my records. Like, you're preventing me from being able to buy it, so I'm gonna correct it. But for me right now, there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
So I'm just gonna wait until I can get there. But so that's just me. But I can see how, obviously it's a stressor, and then it will bring up that tension.
Because I think I'm already not in a good place, and then it's like another thing added on.
It's a little insult.
Let's say I wasn't stressed about anything else. Let's say everything was good, right? And then the paycheck thing, then I'm like, oh, they fucked up. All right, I'll talk to them tomorrow. Yeah. Like, but because everything else was stressing me out already, and my cup wasn't filled, like, so it's like, blah, 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 like, it's boiling, and I'm just like, oh my God. Another thing on top of that.
I have a proposal for you.
You can give me money?
No, absolutely not.
So our Patreon, we have. I need to sell merch, dude.
I get the sense, and I don't want to put this on you, but I get the sense that that you're kind of feeling, because it's like I'm getting the sense of, like, just an emotion of erraticness, right? Like, so just being erratic, not in your behavior, but in your life, right? So my proposal is that I have this technique that I use. I won't only use it a handful of times, but it's like a questioning technique, right? To figure out what your true intention is. So I'm getting the sense, and I get the feel from you, that you're unable to find fulfillment in certain things because you're unsure where your fulfillment should be coming from, right? So your cup isn't getting full because you're not sure where you're supposed to be filling it up from, and you are getting some, things, right? Like our time together or whatever makes you happy. But, like, for example, music makes you really happy, right? It gives you fulfillment. And I have this questioning technique that I use, where we can kind of get a goal of what you want and get a solid, true goal, and then you start working towards that, and then you start to feel better. And you start to kind of just, like, getting those, like this, like, goal, and it doesn't have to be like a physical goal. It's just, what do you want out of life? And once we get there, then things work out, or you manipulate things around it to get that, obviously we don't have to do that on the cast. And,
yeah.
But
I think to just be completely brutally honest, like, obviously I want to do creative stuff for the rest of my life, right? Like obviously, like is doing this, doing the music thing, just creating. And the fact that I'm not saying that I'm not getting paid from it, like because I can't just do that only, like, you know what I mean? It's really hard. And like when I have two jobs right now, like so when those jobs or whatever responsibility is taking me away from it, I just feel so lost and so directionless, and I'm just like, what the fuck do I do? And then that clock keeps ticking louder and louder in my head. I'm just like, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like, why do I feel like I don't know what I'm doing? Like, you know what I mean? And why do I feel like I'm not there when I know I'm supposed to be or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, like this is whiny shit, but it's like, if I could just do that, then I'll be happy, you know, like, but then it comes with other things that will show up. Like imagine, dude, I'm telling you, imagine like if this was the only thing, I could give 120%. My podcast, I'll give 120%. The music, 120%, because I would utilize the time that I got. And I'll make damn sure I utilize every second, every minute, you know? Now is finding, like, because I only have a limited time, I need to do that. I need to start doing that. The work is necessary and all that. Yeah, you have to do it, but you need to start doing it. Like, you can't just say, oh, you don't have enough time when you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to start, I have to start balancing that time. No matter how much I just want to spend 8 hours a day just doing this. Like, you know?
I want to, we can cut this out if you don't, but just right now that it's fresh, I want to throw out a phrase to you, and then I want you to tell me how you feel about it, right? And it's not based off of what you're saying, it's based off of the type of language you're using, right? Just how I feel. And I'm just going to say the phrase, and then we can like build off of that. Lack of validation. What do you feel about that?
Maybe.
Yeah. I feel
50-50 about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I struggled with a lot before, specifically with work, because I never even thought about anything like this, right? But it was a deep, deep struggle for me because I was at work. I was the most skilled worker there, even out of my supervisors, right? I wasn't making what I should have been making. They weren't even acknowledging the fact that I was as skilled as you know, anybody else. And it was something that was so hard for me to get past, and it affected everything in my life, right? Because I didn't feel valuable. And I'm not saying this is how you feel. This is just how I felt, right? I didn't feel valuable to them. So work, no matter what, work is always a big part of your life, right? It shouldn't be, and I know there's like people that say it shouldn't be, you should just work to live and live your life full extent. I don't agree with that all the time, because you have to work in order to survive, right? Whether it's something that you love, whether it's something that you like, whether it's something that you hate, right? If it's something you hate, in my opinion, you should work your ass off to get to something that you like. Once it's something that you like, you make a decision. You work and then you live, and you can balance it, right? And you can prioritize the living. If it's something that you love, then you're set. But in my situation, I liked my work, but I felt worthless because I wasn't being validated at work. And I had this certain thing in my head where I was worth more, you know? And I even had a conversation with my boss about it, and it was she was a horrible leader. What she told me
Say her name, full name.
What she told me to do was this. I was expressing my frustration, like, you know, I feel like I'm not being valued here. I take responsibility for things without being told, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? She said, well, I understand your frustration, but you can always, if you feel like you're not being valued here, you can find somewhere that you are valued. I feel like you're angry and that's okay. You're frustrated. Maybe you should go home, like do things that, relieve that anger, like go make love to your wife, do whatever you need to do,
She said that?
She said that. And in my head, I was like, okay, you just took everything I just told you and you fucking threw it in the trash.
Yeah,
you
just
didn't even understand anything
even
I said,
listen to
right?
me, yeah.
When all you could have said, all she could have said to alleviate something would be like, you know what? I'm so sorry that you feel this way. How can we help you feel more valued? And my first word at that time would have been, give me more money, right? And then she could have, as a good leader, she could have said, you know what? These are the things that go on in the department. I can't give you more money, but what else can we do? How can I help you feel more valued? And then I would have thought about it and would have been like, I need more responsibility. I need acknowledgement.
Something, yeah.
And then she could have said, oh, well, why don't we just give you more responsibility, right? So this lack of validation, and I've come across a lot of people where I work now, a lot of friends where, from here and at home, where it's a very big toxic dump in the pit of their stomach, and it's hard for people to really, really identify it, right? Because a lot of times you feel like you need to validate yourself, like, oh, I don't need, I don't care what people think, I don't, but that's not it. It's not about what people think. It's about the value that you're receiving, right? Or the value that where you're getting your self-value from. I don't know, man. What do you think about that?
I think the reason why I said 50-50 is because I'm used to it. Meaning, just being an artist, like, you could live your whole life being an artist with no validation. Mm-hmm. But why do you keep doing it? Like, you know what I mean? You can easily get a job, be successful. You could easily put your life into something else and be successful at it. But why do you keep doing the things that for some reason people don't give you validation? That's why I was 50-50 at it, because, like, of course, being validated is awesome, but also that's also not the reason why I want to do the things that I want to do.
Right.
And that's just on, like, the creative side, right? But for on the work side, to me, it's like I'll work my ass off, and I often do. But when I don't get validated, I was like, okay, well, that's okay. Then you don't need me. I'm going to work hard until I can go somewhere else.
But that's not okay, though.
How is that not okay?
Because you are providing a service and you are being compensated. But as good leaders, as people that want to keep good staff around, it's not okay for you to not feel validated, right?
Oh, no. Are you talking about that's not okay for me, or that's not okay for that person?
It's not okay on your leadership's behalf. Like, for you to feel that way is not okay, even though you say, oh, okay, it's okay, I'm just going to work my ass off to go somewhere else.
Well, I've tried. That's the thing. Like, with one of my jobs or whatever, I've tried. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm getting pushed aside and da-da-da. I'm like, okay, sorry. Like, so sometimes you have to speak your piece as responsibly as you can. And when that moment is not being talked about or whatever, the situation is not being handled, then you bow out and you're like, okay, respectfully, I'm going to keep working, mm-hmm. but you're only going to get what you're going to get. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to definitely work hard onto going somewhere else. Like, yeah, it sucks, and that's not okay. But what can that person do? The only thing that I can do is take my talents elsewhere, right? Like, that's right. The only thing that I can do.
It's not the only thing you can do, but it's the easiest path, right? And a lot of times it's the only thing that's going to work, but it doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can do.
Right. I mean, what else do you think I should do in that sense? Because
I don't know.
I'm at a place where I don't want to be there anymore. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't find value there anymore.
Right.
Like, and that's nothing against them. They have shit that they have to do. They have other responsibility they have to handle. I'm just one of the gears that needs to be moving. And that's fine. I understand that. But as a proper leader, as a proper like person, your team always comes first, right? Like if you want a successful business or whatever, your team have to be successful, and then you have to find little gears that are not working, and you have to start oiling them, or at least fix it or whatever. And if you're not fixing it, then that gear is just gonna crack.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
But that's like with the assumption that everybody is equipped to be a good leader.
yeah,
And
I
they're
mean,
not.
of course, yeah,
You know,
and
they're
and most
not.
of the time, 9 times out of 10, they're not.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to figure out, where does that come from? Is it because they don't care? Probably not. It's probably they do care. They just don't know how to handle it,
Yep.
or they want to be successful, but they just don't know how to be successful into leading. Like, it's just so many things. That's why there are books, there are people out there that are teaching you ways on how to do certain things. But, you know, like, when you're not being able to do that, when you're not like being validated, as you say, it's just, then I need to take myself elsewhere. But then it comes, well, I don't want to just quit. Well, I don't want to just say fuck you and leave. Like, that's irresponsible.
But there are tactics that you can use to kind of hold your leaders accountable and try to push them, you know?
Yeah, and
I think that you've already
I've done it
attempted
a few,
that.
a few times. I mean, you can ask Chloe. I've done it a few times,
Yeah.
and it's like maybe this is very pompous of me. This is very hubris of me. I know I'm worth something. I know I'm valued. Like, I'm valuable.
Yeah.
But I'm not being utilized as a tool. I'm more being utilized as like a little gear that's just moving this thread along. Like, you know what I mean?
You know, and that's the hunger that I've noticed in a lot of people in our like age group. And that's something I haven't been able to identify how to help. But that's something that I have identified that kind of has people struggle, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's normal because we don't know. We've never been in this age before. Like, I'm still in my early 30s, your early 30s. Like, and I've talked about this before, and maybe we can discuss this a little bit, is we're at this age where we're finally like, oh shit, like, I need to start figuring shit out. Even though that's not, it's important, but it's not the be all end all. Like, I think unfortunately a lot of people in our age group or more, they've been stressed and pressured to, like, you need to have a fucking 7-digit work, like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be paid 7-digit, you need to own your own house, you need to have 6 cars, you need to have a boat. Like, that's like the unfortunate, like, disparity that we're feeling right now, is we have to figure it out shit right now. And then if you're not figuring out, you're a piece of shit, even though that's not true. It's like,
Right.
And a lot of like big businesses before, whatever, they didn't start doing ideas, or they didn't start a business till they were like 30 and up. And we just have to tell ourselves that if we don't know, that's okay. Like, you know, like, do the steps to get there. And then we already talked on the flip side, you know, like the under 30, and they already have their own shit to deal with. Like, so for us, it's like, we're old and we need to have our shit together, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that pressure is very inappropriate, though. And I feel like it's just so hard for me to explain, but the pressure of us, I mean, I agree with you. The pressure of us having to be all these things, right, is a little crap, even though we still feel that pressure, right? But I feel like we allow it in, you know, and we allow it in because we're seeking validation from the wrong places.
Right.
So in your life, in my life, I'm seeking validation, let's say from work. So my entire self-worth is going to come from how I am validated at work. If I'm an artist, I'm going to put my life into art, and my entire self-worth is based around how people validate my art, or how I'm validated by people and how they take my art, right? If I'm a parent and I'm putting all my effort into this parenting, I'm going to be validated on how my children grow up or how they behave, right? But I think that a lot of times we are getting the validation and we aren't getting it from the appropriate places, right? Or we aren't receiving it. So a lot of people will get validation in certain ways from, their friends, family, or whatever, but they aren't looking for that. So they're not taking the time to allow that to fill their cup. Does that make sense? So they're shifting where they're trying to siphon validation from other places.
Right. I think it's about finding that balance and like, unfortunately, we see that shit all the time. We see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Anytime you're on your phone, anytime you watch TV, anytime like the people you have around you sometimes, like, oh wait, you work at so and so?
Yeah.
Oh wait, you stopped going to school? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you see it all the time. So it's a matter of here, right? It's a matter of here and here. It's about figuring that out and just like letting go, figuring out your self-worth, self-validation, all that shit. I mean, perfect example, dude, I've been an artist for a long time. Like, if you look at views or my YouTube, whatever, it's little to zero. Like, you know what I mean? But that's not why I do it.
Right.
Of course, I want 1 million views. I want sponsors, and of course, that comes with it. But that's not why I do it. I do it because I genuinely love it. I genuinely have the passion for it, and then that I know that if nothing comes off it or whatever, I know that, oh wow, I did all this. That's kind of cool. Like I mean, we were driving, we were getting food, and like we just so happened to listen to my old band. I was like, oh fuck, I wrote that, or oh shit, that's kind of cool. Like that's kind of catchy. Like, so it's kind of, that's for me.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, having the validation for certain people, whatever, would be nice. But I'm so used to the bad side of it. I'm so used to like, your voice sucks, or I'm so used to like, the mixing is shit, or like, oh, you're not good enough. I'm so used to that. So anything that's good, like, oh man, that sounds awesome. Like, thanks. It's almost like I don't know how to take it. Like, So for the work stuff, I guess I have to figure out that balance for that. For the artist stuff, I just want to be able to do more of it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I think we can use that questioning technique to get
to
you
find
that solid
the
goal.
right pathway.
Yeah,
So with that being
solid goal.
said, you want to end it? I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great time here with you guys. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at
I have to say it, the
Yeah.
Doer and the Thinker
podcast.
And then you can find us on
cute
YouTube.
bastard.
On YouTube, the Doer and the Thinker. If you find us on Instagram, the link is all there. We want to post more stuff. It's just, motherfucker, we work. We're busy.
Yeah.
But again, that's not on you. That's on us to start doing stuff like that. And
our media managers, aka the wifey.
oh my god. So we're hoping to do a little bit more. We're hoping to do more fun shit for you guys to see us in real life or whatever, and on top of other things, and to be more involved. But yeah, I mean, it's been good. We need to figure out Halloween because it's Mr. Serrano's birthday.
That's why I'm so scary looking.
So we're gonna do something special for that. We're just still thinking about it. But this is a long one, it ended up being something else, and we got deep, and we're always gonna go deep. So if there's any particular topic you feel like we should talk about that could help you, or just curious to just hear our thoughts or whatever on it. We're no experts, but we do like having real conversations, and on top of our best of trying to be funny. So thank you for listening, and that was a long outro.
If you made it this far, we appreciate you and thank you very much.
Yeah, and say say your love to your papas. All right.
To your papas.
All right, bye.
Okay.